Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet the legendary businessman and entrepreneur Jim Keyes. He's going to talk about his new book, Education is Freedom. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, it's a common question. What would you say to a younger version of yourself? Well, I have the answer to that because Jim Keyes, legendary businessman, has written a book, and this is what he would say to a 17-year-old Jim Keyes. It's called Education is Freedom. Jim, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I had the pleasure of interviewing Jim back in his 7-Eleven and Blockbuster days at Channel 4, and we've become good friends. He's been on the show before, and I saw him the other night, and he said, "Hey, Jeff, I'm about to release this book. In fact, it's on Amazon right now. So please tell us about Education is Freedom."
Sure. Well, let me take you back to the origin of the name. I've had a lot of people say, "Why that name? You know, it's really interesting, but is that a great brand name?" Oprah thinks it is.
That's all you need to say.
Yeah, exactly. But here's how I got to Oprah. I was walking across campus one day at Columbia University. I was going back to teach a class. And it was the most amazing experience. I was dressed up in a suit. And, I was that kid that never should have been in an Ivy League university, much less graduate school of business. But I had been invited back to teach a class after graduating a number of years before. I was probably CFO, I think, of 7-Eleven at the time. And walking across campus, it was a beautiful spring day. I was feeling good about life, carrying a briefcase, feeling good about myself, and really proud of the opportunity to go back and teach now. And here walking toward me was a young man, looked like me, African-American man, carrying an armful of books, just looked tired, looked like he'd been up all night studying. And he had a t-shirt on, and that t-shirt said, "Education is freedom." Those 3 words, literally, no exaggeration, stopped me in my tracks. I took my breath away. I reached out, I shook his hand, I said, "You have no idea, but that is me. That's why I'm here. That's my life." It was literally a life-changing moment, and I filed it away, took it back, and then said, "I'm going to do something with that brand someday."
Yes, I want to put the book cover on the screen so people can get a good look at this. The big block letters. You described it before the show. This is the how, what, and why of learning. What do you mean by that?
It is. Well, I'll show you in a minute, but first I should take you to what we did with that brand. I was eventually had the privilege of leading 7-Eleven, and as CEO, I had hundreds of thousands of employees. We had huge turnover. The challenge was finding great employees, and yet then I looked at our public school system and I said, there are all these kids like me that didn't believe they could go to school, and can't we get into those public schools and help show these kids the path? If I could do it, anybody can do it, right? And so we created a foundation called Education is Freedom 20 years ago with 7-Eleven, PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, a number of other companies. It's still today, after 20 years, in over 20 Dallas public schools and throughout the Metroplex. And very proud of the fact we've had over 500,000 kids go through. I mentioned Oprah. Well, she was actually, her friend Stedman Graham was on our board in the early days. And Oprah said, I'll never forget it, she said, "I love that concept. Education is freedom. You should take that concept worldwide."
Wow.
Hence the book.
I love it. and not many people disagree with Oprah. So I think you got a winner of a title. You brought a chart with you. I want you to invite you to bring that up and show us what you came up with and what it means.
I did. Well, I've captured a lot of stories. I call it C-suite learnings from my experience both at 7-Eleven and at Blockbuster. But, you mentioned what would I tell my 17-year-old self? Well, the things that we don't learn in school, we learn skills, we learn math, we learn science, but what we don't learn is literally the what, the how, and the why of learning. And so I've tried to capture that in a very, very simple form and provide a bit of a roadmap for students. But as I got through the book, I realized this isn't just for kids. This is for all of us, because lifelong learning really makes our life more full and literally gives us freedom to do anything we want to do. So this roadmap applies to someone in school to have better academic performance and unlock opportunities throughout their career. Could be somebody that's an entrepreneur wanting to solve problems for their company. How do I take my company to the next level? It could be, someone as old as me, who says, I just want to learn something new and have a full life. And so I live that same premise.
Well, I love the way your eyes light up when you talk about this. We're going to pull up your website, and as we scroll down your website, I want to talk about the number of lives you've already touched. I mean, it's in the thousands.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. The Dallas public school system has embraced this organization. We've now been supported by Commit. We're actually taking the Education is Freedom Foundation to the next level, dramatically expanding the number of advisors that are available in public schools, the number of schools, hopefully, that offer this really important advice to our young people. And so, yeah, I'm very proud of, as I said, over 500,000 students in the last 20 years that have come through the program, and that's expanding every year. So very gratifying. We're trying to change lives and help children see that it doesn't matter where you are, where you're from, all that matters is
and
how to learn.
I want to take people back to your early days because if I remember right, education was foundational for you.
It was. Literally, I grew up, it sounds like Abraham Lincoln, I grew up in a 3-room house, literally. Too many kids, not enough money, no running water. And the difference, I had no one in my family, father, mother, both dropped out in grammar school, different times back then. But brothers, sisters, none of them went on to college, and they live very happy lives. And this is why it's not education is money. It's education is freedom, because the only difference between my siblings and I is that I have the freedom to go anywhere in the world, to do anything. And yes, money's a part, it's an enabler, but the more I learn, the more I can do.
Yes. And you're always curious. I noticed that one of the things on the chart was curiosity. Talk about why that's so important.
It's a whole chapter in the book. Curiosity, I love the Einstein quote because he says it so well. Curiosity is intelligence having fun. It's exactly what it is. It is, using the right side of your brain. Today we're so specialized. We learn accounting, we learn engineering, we learn any given subject, and we tend to specialize at a very, very early age. But too often, we have the creativity beat out of us. Maybe we crayoned the wall as a child, or didn't stay in the lines in our coloring book, right? No. Creativity is that thing that makes life so rich. The ability to play music, even if it's not good music. I'm a piano player, I'm horrible, but man, it is such a release.
Well, and every invention, everything that we look around and hold came because somebody was curious.
Exactly.
Famously, I think Play-Doh was a wallpaper remover, and then somebody said, hey, you could fashion this into a child's toy.
Exactly. Well, and curiosity is another chapter in the book. So creativity, intelligence, having fun, but curiosity literally is what caused humanity to go from the Stone Age to where we are today. It was someone that was curious enough to say, how do we use this fire? How do we make a wheel? And then, the Wright brothers, it was like, what was it, almost 120 years ago.
Yes.
I think yesterday, the Wright brothers had their first flight.
Wow. Kitty
And
Hawk.
yeah, Kitty Hawk. And you think about that curiosity, bicycle manufacturers. I wonder if they could make these bicycles fly. You know,
You're right.
you know, they had some friends who were like, "You're nuts, dude."
What I love about you, Jim, is you have a childlike curiosity about yourself and excitement for this subject matter that's very infectious. I urge everybody to go follow Jim's foundation on social media because they just have all these testimonial videos. I found one that touched my heart. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Hello, my name is Jerusalem Desta, and I recently graduated from South Prairie High School. EIF has helped me in various different ways. My advisors, Ms. Martinez and Mr. O'Donovan, have helped me so much throughout this process. They've helped me with my college applications. If I had any questions, they were able to answer them. Ms. Martinez really helped me with my financial aid process because that whole thing was very confusing, but she was able to break it down and explain everything to me very well. Mr. O'Donovan has sent me so many scholarships that best fits for me. So I really appreciate him taking his time to message me all these scholarships after scholarships after scholarships. And being able to work with them throughout this whole process, it was very fun and enjoyable, and talking to them, it made it feel like I was talking to more of a friend than an advisor. So I feel like that really helped a lot as well.
And there are just literally dozens and dozens of stories just like that. What do you have any other stories that touch your heart?
Oh my gosh, there are thousands. But I'll give you one that I captured in the book. It was a student named Adan Gonzalez that I met at a junior achievement event. Ironically, he was Student of the Year for Junior Achievement. And he stood up at a junior achievement event and gave credit to Education is Freedom, another organization. And I approached him afterwards and he told me it changed my life. Well, wonderful story for the young man. I continued to stay in touch with him. He went to Georgetown University, got out of there, went to Harvard, came back to Dallas, taught in Oak Cliff, taught young students, so he was paying it forward. Went back to Columbia University, got a second master's. Wow. He then went to the White House as a White House fellow, just finished. He's back in Dallas, and you know what he's doing? The White House kept him on the payroll to be a liaison between families which need this knowledge about school and how important it is, between the families and the schools. So I'm so proud of him as an example because he's living proof that education really is freedom.
Yes, and I want to go back to the theme that you mentioned earlier that education does not just apply to young people. It's fundamental to our democracy, isn't it?
You know, I quoted Jefferson all the way back to the founding fathers. They recognized that a democracy and sustainability of a democracy is reliant, heavily reliant. Its prerequisite is an educated populace. And if you think about it, it's so important because we're electing people to represent us, so we have to have critical thinking, curiosity. We have to have the ability to reason. It's something that's so important today, and if you dial forward, can our democracy be sustained if we continue the trajectory which we've been on as a country where fewer and fewer people are becoming educated? We're not even in the top 10 of industrialized nations today in post-secondary completion. So we've got some work to do, not just for the kids, for our society in general.
Wow, and I hope your book can not only touch hearts and minds, but really start to heal a country that has become very divisive. And I think a lot of the secrets are in this book. Any final thoughts?
Well, yeah, I'll share one anecdote that I have in the book, and I talk about this divisiveness, this division that's tearing the country apart. So much of it's based on fear. I mean, think about it. And when you're a little kid and you've got a monster under the bed, what do? You scream. And mom comes in, turns on the light. And you look under the bed and there's no monster, right? Well, that's knowledge. Knowledge is the same thing. So we're trapped today, worldwide, not just the United States, in this cycle of ignorance, which leads to fear, which leads to violence, which leads to anger, back to the ignorance, makes it worse and worse. It's this horrible cycle of fear. If you reverse that cycle and you replace the ignorance with knowledge, that can create a cycle of hope, understanding, peace.
Wow.
And I know this sounds cliche, that we're trying to solve for peace in the world, but it maybe is not that complicated. It may have more to do with enlightenment and knowledge to replace fear and anger and violence.
Wow. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with the world. You can go and get his book on Amazon or any place books are sold. And we're going to leave you with the website for his foundation, which is educationisfreedom.org. The great Jim Keys. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.